She pounced on me. My alien wife was full of desire. The diplomatic bond. The transport shuttle descended through Valandra's crimson atmosphere, and Dr. Marcus Webb pressed his palm against the viewport, watching the volcanic moon reveal itself in swirls of rust and amber. Geothermal vents pierced the landscape like breathing wounds, exhaling mineral-rich steam that painted the horizon in ethereal veils. This was his new home, alien, beautiful, and utterly terrifying. The Galactic Unity Initiative had selected him specifically, a geologist whose research on crystalline formations had caught the attention of Valandra's Council of Elders. What they hadn't mentioned until his final briefing was the bonding requirement. Cultural exchange meant more than sharing research. It meant marriage. The ceremonial pavilion stood at the settlement's heart, constructed from polished obsidian that reflected the perpetual twilight. Marcus straightened his formal uniform, fingers trembling slightly as he adjusted the collar. Through the arched entrance, he glimpsed her for the first time. Talika Shah moved with liquid grace, her deep violet skin adorned with silver bioluminescent patterns that traced elegant spirals along her shoulders and down her spine. Her golden eyes found his across the gathered crowd, and something flickered there. Was it nervousness? Her flowing white hair cascaded past her waist, moving as though touched by invisible currents. She was breathtaking. And she was to be his wife. The ceremony blurred past in rhythmic chanting and ritual exchanges. Marcus offered the carefully preserved earth roses he transported in stasis, their red petals a stark contrast to Valandra's muted palette. Talika accepted them with careful reverence, then pressed a carved crystal into his hands. It warmed immediately against his skin, glowing softly. It responds to living heat, she explained, her voice melodic with harmonic undertones. Like all things here, it reflects what dwells within. Their assigned dwelling perched on the edge of a geothermal field, where natural hot springs bubbled between volcanic rock formations. 2 separate sleeping chambers flanked a central common space, a concession to human customs, the facilitator had explained. That first night, Marcus lay awake in his chamber, listening to distant sounds of Talika moving through hers, separated by walls of stone and cultures he barely understood. Growing closer through shared worlds. Morning light on Valandra never truly brightened, but the crimson sky shifted to warmer amber tones. Marcus found Talika already awake, preparing a traditional breakfast of protein-rich fungal cakes and mineral tea. She gestured for him to sit, and they ate in comfortable silence, stealing glances when the other looked away. His days fell into rhythm. Marcus explored the crystalline caves that honeycombed Valandra's crust, collecting samples and documenting the unique way minerals here grew in response to thermal fluctuations. Talika trained young warriors in the combat courtyards, her movements precise and lethal, yet somehow beautiful, like watching a carefully choreographed dance. Evenings became their shared time. Marcus attempted Valandan cuisine, creating fusion dishes that made Talika laugh when he over-seasoned with spicy mineral salts. She began teaching him her language, correcting his pronunciation of the musical tones with patient amusement. In return, he read her earth poetry, translating the metaphors into concepts her culture might understand. "Your people speak of love in flowers and soft rains," she observed one evening, curled in her chair with one of his books. "We speak of it in fire and stone, things that endure." "Maybe they're not so different," Marcus replied. "Flowers can be stubborn too. Roses have thorns for a reason." Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed briefly brighter, and she looked away quickly, though not before he caught the expression on her face, something between pleasure and pain. The hot springs became their unspoken sanctuary. The thermal waters eased the ache in Marcus's muscles from climbing, and Talika explained they held healing minerals her people had bathed in for generations. They maintained respectful distance at first, staying to opposite sides of the natural pools. But one evening, as Marcus reached for a towel, his hand brushed hers underwater. The contact sent unexpected warmth racing through him, not just the heat of the springs, but something electric and alive. Their fingers lingered, neither pulling away immediately. Talika's patterns blazed suddenly bright, silver light dancing across the water's surface. She gasped softly, then withdrew her hand as though burned, rising quickly from the water. I need to check the perimeter sensors," she stammered, wrapping herself and disappearing into the dwelling before Marcus could respond. He stared at his hand, still tingling, wondering what he'd done wrong, or if maybe, just maybe, he'd done something right. The Festival of Twin Flames. The Festival of Twin Flames arrived with little warning. Marcus had been too absorbed in his research to notice Valandra's orbital alignment with its sister moon. Suddenly, the settlement transformed. Bioluminescent decorations adorned every surface, and the air itself seemed to shimmer with something he couldn't quite identify. "It's our mating season," Talika explained, her voice carefully controlled. "The twin moon's alignment triggers biological responses in my people. Increased pheromone production, heightened sensory awareness, intensified pair bonding instincts." Marcus noticed her patterns had been glowing brighter lately, pulsing with colors he hadn't seen before, deep golds and warm crimsons mixing with the silver. She'd been more distant too, avoiding casual touches, leaving rooms when he entered. The festival itself was magnificent. Warriors performed elaborate courtship dances, their bodies becoming canvases of light. Musicians played instruments that resonated with harmonic frequencies Marcus felt in his bones. Couples disappeared into private alcoves without shame, while others danced with increasingly intimate touches. Talika remained rigidly controlled beside him, but Marcus saw the tension in her shoulders, the way her jaw clenched when other bonded pairs passed close. Her patterns flickered erratically, a strobe of suppressed desire. "You should enjoy yourself," she said tightly. "Dance. Celebrate. I'll maintain propriety for both of us." But Marcus noticed how her golden eyes tracked his movements, how her breathing quickened when he laughed at a performer's antics. The tension between them had become a living thing, crackling like the geothermal vents that surrounded their home. As night deepened, Marcus found himself restless. He stepped onto their dwelling's balcony, seeking cool air to clear his head. Above, meteor showers streaked the crimson sky, fragments of the twin moon's orbital debris burning through the atmosphere. He didn't hear her approach until she spoke from the doorway. "Marcus." His name on her lips sounded different tonight, raw, almost pleading. "I need to tell you something. My people, when we bond, it's not intellectual. It's physical, primal. I've been fighting it because I fear my intensity will frighten you. Humans seem so gentle, fragile." Her patterns were blazing now, illuminating the entire balcony in pulsing waves of silver and gold. She stepped closer, and Marcus caught her scent, something like cinnamon and lightning storms, making his head swim. "I don't want to hurt you," she whispered. "But I don't know how much longer I can hold back what I feel." The claiming. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. For weeks, he'd been so careful, so respectful, assuming she needed space to adjust to their arrangement. Now, seeing the raw vulnerability in her golden eyes, the desperate struggle in her trembling form, he realized they'd both been prisoners of the same fear. "Talika," he said softly, stepping closer until only breath separated them. "I've been holding back too. Not because you're too much, but because I thought I wasn't enough. Your warriors are powerful, fierce. I'm just a geologist who gets excited about rock formations. I was afraid you'd see me as weak." Her laugh came out choked, almost a sob. "Weak? Marcus, do you know what strength is to my people? It's not just physical power. It's dedication, patience, the courage to be gentle when every instinct screams for violence. You possess a strength I've never encountered." She reached up, cupping his face with both hands. Her skin was fever-warm, and those luminescent patterns painted light across his features. "I've wanted this, wanted you, since the night you read me poetry about stars being lonelier apart than together." Marcus's carefully constructed restraint shattered. He leaned in, capturing her lips with his, and she made a sound deep in her throat, surprise melting instantly into fierce hunger. She responded with the passion she'd been suppressing, pulling him closer until no space remained between them. Talika pressed him back against the warm stone wall of their dwelling, her body a perfect contrast of soft curves and warrior strength. Her hands explored his chest, fingers trembling with the effort of staying gentle when everything in her wanted to claim and possess. "Tell me if I'm too much," she breathed against his neck, her patterns now pulsing in rhythm with both their racing hearts. "You're perfect," Marcus gasped, threading his fingers through her white hair, pulling her into another deep kiss. "I want all of you, Talika. Everything you've been hiding." Her control dissolved completely. With a sound between a laugh and a growl, she lifted him easily, her people's strength allowing what seemed impossible, and carried him inside to their common space. The woven sleeping mats were soft beneath them as she lowered him down, her body covering his with tender ferocity. Their lovemaking was discovery and surrender, gentle exploration punctuated by passionate intensity. Marcus learned that touching the luminescent patterns made her shiver with pleasure. Talika discovered that her human husband was far from fragile, meeting her passion with his own hidden fire. Two worlds, one love. Dawn found them tangled together on the mats, Talika's patterns now glowing with soft, contented pulses of pale blue and silver, colors Marcus had learned meant deep satisfaction and peace. She traced lazy circles on his chest, her expression more relaxed than he'd ever seen. "No more separate chambers," she declared, nuzzling into the curve of his neck. "I can't believe we wasted months sleeping apart." Marcus laughed, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Cultural sensitivity. We were being very diplomatic." "Diplomacy is overrated," she murmured, then proved her point by kissing him thoroughly until they were both breathless again. Their relationship transformed into something beautifully balanced. Mornings began with gentle affection, soft kisses and quiet conversation over breakfast. Talika would leave for her training sessions, but now she'd return at midday, seeking him out with playful tackles that sent them both laughing into their private hot spring. Marcus learned to read her bioluminescent patterns like a second language. Bright gold meant desire. Deep crimson showed fierce protectiveness. Soft silver expressed contentment. And when patterns swirled together in complex dances, he knew she was feeling multiple emotions at once, usually when she watched him work with that focused intensity she found inexplicably attractive. Evenings became their time for passionate exploration. Talika reveled in claiming him again and again, her warrior nature finding perfect outlet in their intimate moments. Marcus discovered his own capacity for matching her intensity, his thoughtful nature translating to attentive devotion that left her trembling and breathless. When Marcus's Earth colleagues arrived months later for a diplomatic check-in, they found him standing waist-deep in the hot springs, laughing as Talika tackled him from behind with a playful growl, her patterns blazing bright with joy. "She pounced on me," Marcus explained later, his arm wrapped possessively around her waist, during the festival. "I spent months being careful and gentle, trying to give her space. Turns out what we both needed was to stop holding back and just leap." Talika nuzzled his jaw, her patterns pulsing contentment. "Your people have a saying, yes? About opposites attracting." "We do," Marcus agreed. "Then we are perfect," she declared. "My fire to your earth. Your patience to my passion. Two worlds becoming one love." Their story became legendary across both their worlds, proof that the strongest bonds form not despite differences, but because of them, when two souls brave enough to pounce into the unknown find each other waiting on the other side. Lessons from the stars. True intimacy blooms when we stop hiding our authentic desires from those we love, trusting them with the wild, untamed parts of ourselves. The strongest bonds are forged not by similarity, but by complementary souls who balance fierce passion with tender devotion, each bringing what the other lacks. Love requires the courage to be vulnerable, to pounce when convention says wait, and to surrender completely when every instinct screams for control.